reason why this museum is called the Cradle of Aviation Museum is because Long Island's nickname was the Cradle of Aviation. Just about everything except for the very first flight that the Wright brothers did in North Carolina happened here.
It was a natural progression. The human beings are naturally curious. People are always trying to climb mountains to see what's on the top. They decided to start flying airplanes back when Leonardo da Vinci started designing aircraft, in the 1600s. Once the scientific community came along in terms of engineering, they started building airplanes with engines. And of course the first known one was flown in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina by the Wright brothers in 1903. But shortly thereafter, many of the large organizations that wanted to fly moved to Long Island for one simple fact. Long Island was probably the most perfect place to fly aircraft simply because Long Island was formed by glacier activity. And so the only thing that grew on Long Island for hundreds and hundreds of years was beach grass. And when men started flying airplanes, they used grass runways. Well, modern day planes are completely different from the early planes, but some of the basics are very, very similar. Essentially, you need lift and you need forward thrust. They found that if they made the wing of their aircraft the same shape as a bird, which has kind of a curved top and a flat bottom, and they had some way of making the vehicle go through the air, they got forward thrust, and that caused the air to go over the top of the wing. In terms of what's here, and what's most people don't know about, is the fact that we have airplanes that run the gamut of very simple, crude, fabric-covered, wooden-winged airplanes built in the early 1900s, all the way up to modern aircraft that explored the moon.
I'm going to step off the limb. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Philip, Roger, the EVA is progressing beautifully. They're setting up the flag now. They've got the flag up now, and you can see the stars and stripes on the lunar surface. Are you getting a TV picture now, Houston?
And as you go through the museum, you're going up in time. You're starting Dream of Wings, and then you end up at the spacecraft area where we have an actual lunar module.
Well, I think clearly the largest step forward for man was walking on the moon. It took place because of vehicles that were built here on Long Island. As a matter of fact, the lunar landing module that we have here is actually a very special artifact because the Grumman people built several landing modules that were not used. NASA ended the program prematurely. They actually canceled the last 3 missions. So there were 3 lunar landing modules that were completed and not used. And we have one of them here. As a matter of fact, the one we have was going to be the next one to go to the moon.
Every country, every discipline has a cradle of something, whether it's a cradle of Renaissance art, whether it's a cradle of Russian history or something like that. Well, we're called the Cradle of Aviation. Aviation started here on Long Island with Mitchell Field starting teaching World War I pilots how to fly, and you had a civilian airfield where the Roosevelt shopping mall is, so there's just an awful lot of history on what happened on Long Island.